So some of the complaints about the series, was that this isn't as much of a Hawkeye series as it's theoretically billed, because you have Haley Steinfeld's Kate Bishop character, who is, takes up a lot of the screen time and is being introduced in the show. And look, let's be honest. I mean, Marvel is clearly trying to find a way to create the next Hawkeye and try to sort of, build up the next round of Avengers, of Avengers, and kind of make them the kinds of things. And then first of all, as if those characters have no merit on their own, which I think is the tokenization part of it, which I think is lame. But also it's all like a downgrade, because we're taking the title of somebody that's a character that like Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man or whatever, and like replacing Iron Man with what clearly Disney is gonna do at some point with Ironheart, which happened in the comics, which is like a 16-year-old girl. So they're kind of doing this. They're going this direction that the comics has gone, but it's all like this downgrade of like, here you've got this beloved character that's established very, very well in a very particular and specific way. And then that character either dies or retires or whatever, and then they get replaced. But instead of replacing them with instead of shifting focus to something else, right? Guardians of the Galaxy, or, the Ravagers, or, if they had done Eternals well, you could have shifted your focus to Eternals. But of course, there's that whole mess to deal with. But instead of doing that, we're just taking the names of all of Thor, right? Getting replaced by Jane Foster, all of these kinds of things. It feels like this weird, lazy, cheap sort of downgrade to everything. And it doesn't entice me to keep watching, the films or the series or any of it. So. Right.
It's hard to, because Haley Steinfeld, I thought she was good in this. But, and this is kind of across the board with the new Avengers they're going towards, I just don't care about the characters they've created in the shows. And that is what made Marvel so successful in the early part of the last decade, is that they wrote these characters that, I mean, now they're household names, but they weren't then. Right. Like it's not like this is Batman, Superman, Spider-Man, those level of superheroes. It's still Thor and Iron Man. Like nobody cared until they made them care. But now it's just replacing them with what feels like the Sam's Value, great Sam's Value, Walmart brand. And it's just unfortunate, because these actors that are playing these characters deserve better. Like they're better actors than what they're going to be put in the roles that they're going to be asked to be playing. But you see this being able to, you brought up Guardians of the Galaxy. I'll go over to the DC universe, but Polka Dot Man.
Yeah. Right.
Like, who?
Right.
And he was on screen for maybe 15 minutes, and you instantly made him funny and memorable. And obviously he didn't, spoiler alert, make it, but
almost this close, man, this close.
It was a near thing.
Look, so first of all, I got to point out that, I bring up Guardians of the Galaxy, you bring up another James Gunn movie, with Suicide Squad. And the reality is, like, what Marvel did right in the early days, and what I worry they're doing less and less right as we go along, is really hire some interesting directors and writers with unique voices and unique styles, and allow them to flesh out these characters in ways that were specific and interesting. And from that, you ended up with, Jon Favreau and, Kenneth Branagh doing the first Thor movie. You had, the Russo brothers taking on you had Joe Johnston before that, who, did the first Captain America. Then you've got the Russo brothers doing, Captain America, Winter Soldier. And then you've got Guardians of the Galaxy by James Gunn. And then DC finally figured out how to do that with some of their stuff, right? Just barely now they're going, oh, wait, what if we hire James Gunn and kind of let him do what he does? And you end up with this neat, interesting, weird cast of characters that are complete unknowns to the majority of America. Ratcatcher, Ratcatcher 2, in fact, not even, you know, the daughter of Ratcatcher. And, King Shark and Polka Man and all these, the Weasel character. I mean, all these things are super memorable, though, because they're specific and weird and unique. And Marvel, unfortunately, again, they did this in the comics, and they're doing it in the shows and the movies. They're creating carbon copies of their successful characters, which, to your point, were not originally successful, right? Like Iron Man was kind of a nothing. Nobody cared about Iron Man in the comics. And then suddenly, because of Favreau and because of Robert Downey Jr., and the way that all of that was written and put together, now everybody cares about Iron Man. But it's the error is thinking that people care about Iron Man, the label or the title.
Right.
Nobody cares about that. Like, we care about the specific instance of what Robert Downey Jr. and everybody associated with it brought to this one character. And you can't just transfer that to somebody. Like, when you transfer the Iron Man title, all that doesn't go with it. So, and it's the same problem you've got with like Sam Wilson becoming Captain America. It's like all the stuff that made Chris Evans and that character so memorable and good, from the first Avenger to, Winter Soldier and Civil War and all the Avengers movies and all that kind of stuff. You don't just get to copy that and paste it onto the Anthony Mackie version. Like, you lose all of it. And what's funny is it's a double loss in a lot of ways, because Anthony Mackie had started to develop from Winter Soldier on. He started to develop his own personality, his own character, and then became Falcon. And now we're losing that too, because we've overridden it with this, this clone of Captain America instead. It just, I don't understand this mentality. Like, it's a really weird approach to thinking about characters and story. And then it also, like, I just feel like it's a double loss. Like, we've lost a good Captain America and we've lost a good Falcon in the process. Why?
Because it's easier.
Is it? I don't even see how
I don't
it
think
is.
it is, though.
I mean, I don't. It obviously it's not smart in the long run.
It also creates these. It creates these weird engineering problems too. So, like, Paul, I may have talked to Paul about this. Jen will remember this. So I'm gonna announce this is a very specific thing that I really like on our team internally. We have a phrase called a toilet door problem, which I don't know if Jen remembers this or not, but So when our senior graphic designer, Tim, and I did a presentation on design a few years ago, and Tim had found an image of a bathroom that had a door that opened inward, but because of where they placed the toilet, the door would not be able to open inward. It would just hit the toilet and not be able to open any further. So what they did was they just took a Sawzall and cut a toilet bowl shaped outline out of the door so that the door could swing in around the bowl of the toilet, right? So Tim and I started talking about things that we started using the phrase toilet door problem to refer to a design, a terrible design caused by an engineering failure, right? Something that, like, if you'd re-engineered the thing from the beginning, the design would be much better. But because you have to design around bad engineering, the design is bad. And I think about that with things like like the Falcon version of Captain America. This is a guy who has wings and flies, and yet now has to manage some kind of a shield that takes up tremendous amount of space, loses access to one of his hands, and which on the original Captain America is held on his back where his wings go. This doesn't make any sense. Like, it makes zero sense to actually have this as a gimmick for a character that is designed the way that Falcon is. But they were so desperate to keep the iconography of Captain America in play, including the shield, that it doesn't make any sense. So now you've engineered a terrible thing that then created a bunch of design flaws that are going to carry with you forever. And all of these things to me are the kinds of things that sort of downgrade everybody's interest in this stuff, but they often do it in such a subtle way that not any one of these problems is sort of enough. Like you look at that problem, you go, well, it's not, it's fine. It's not that big of a deal. But when you start seeing dozens and dozens of these kinds of things stack up, it ends up leading to like, well, I don't really care anymore. This is kind of meh. And I think that's kind of where a lot of people are at with Marvel, unfortunately.